coronavirus outbreak continuing to take a toll on the stocks of the cruise lines. Most recently, the U.S. State Department urging U.S. citizens not to travel on cruise ships. Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian Cruise, all down more than 50% year to date. For more on this, Jaime Katz, Morningstar senior equity analyst, joins us from Chicago, Illinois. Jaime, I've got friends who take a cruise every year. They live in Cleveland. I asked them about this. They're getting offers in the mail from one of the cruise line companies. We'll pay for your airfare. We'll pay for everything. Book a trip. And then we saw Norwegian actually has changed its cancellation fee situation to help passengers. What's going to happen to the cruise lines? Can they get through the next year, given the fear that seems to be on the part of passengers to take a cruise?
Well, this has really been unprecedented relative to past viral experiences and exposures that have occurred, because now we have something that's really globally affecting travelers. And I think for cruisers that have cruised in the past and have enjoyed the experience, the willingness to go will remain pretty high. There's obviously a risk that you get sick in any closed air environment, including the office that you're working in. And so I do think once this passes, there will be a bit of a rebound in demand from what has fallen off this year. However, I do think that new to cruise travelers could be a little bit put off by what is going on right now, and they could maybe be a little bit more hesitant to book their initial cruise until some of this noise really passes. And so our assumption right now is that 2020 is pretty much a washout, and then 2021 starts to move back towards business as usual.
This is Anjali. So this is, of course, assuming that we do, in fact, see some sort of end in light for this outbreak. I want to know your thoughts on that, in addition to what your thoughts were on Vice President Pence's address of the cruise industry over the weekend.
So obviously, I'm not a medical doctor, but it seems like as China has progressed, the number of new virus diagnoses have slowed down. And so, the hope is that this will capitulate at some point once it gets to the U.S. in a more meaningful way and level off, and then maybe be remediated a little bit so that people feel better understanding that it really impacts a part of the population that is specific. I think Pence articulated that they were very cautious for elderly and people with underlying health conditions to travel, and that this really wasn't a warning for everybody globally that don't necessarily have health problems. And so I think, if you look at how it's been impacting children as the statistics have been coming out, or healthier people, it seems like there are a lot of people we don't know that have it that are actually moving through the virus sort of unnoticed. And, I think only time will tell really what the magnitude and duration of this will be.
Jaime, talk to me about the financials for the cruise lines. If I'm a cruise ship operator and I am keeping my ship in port because I'm not sailing a cruise because I can't sell the thing, how much does that cost me idling it? Am I still paying all those people who work on the ship? How does all of that work?
So I think the real risk is in pricing this year. Costs are pretty highly fixed across a lot of the industry. And so now we're looking at what refunds are being given or accommodations are being made, or who's canceling at last minute. Can they refill that cabin? And so the real concern, in my opinion, is how they're going to mitigate pricing pressures over the remainder of the year. And we've actually reduced our earnings per share outlook for all of the cruise companies. I mean, we have Royal down, I think, 25% in earnings per share so far this year in our outlook. We have a similar move for Carnival, and I think Norwegian we have slightly better because they are more North American centric, but we don't expect this to be an easy year. I think this will be a real financial hit, and it's going to make, obviously, the leverage metrics look a little bit less favorable towards the end of the year.
Hey, Jaime, are you hearing anything about a standardized protocol for these companies and the ships? I mean, they're all over the place. This happens, we don't test, we got an email, we never received it, we can't get off on this port. I mean, are there any standards here?
I think this is probably the first time they've really had to develop standards in a meaningful way where the risk of the people traveling because of the highly contagious nature of the virus necessitates such a protocol. But this could make things actually better for the cruise industry longer term because the protocols could effectively stay in place perpetually as more of these viruses come on, and that then reduces the risk of such a virus being widespread or having the inability to port and get off ships. And so maybe that will help allay some of the fears. I think a lot of customers are hesitant to go on now because they don't know how long the duration of the cruise will be, if they will be quarantined, if they'll be able to get back to work or back to school. And that's causing a bit of pause. But if there is a remedy to those concerns, it may help travelers feel a little bit more confident.
Jaime Katz from Morningstar, Senior Equity Analyst. Thank you for being here on The Move.
Thank you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.